Hello and welcome to the Upper Kintore 150th anniversary. You might be saying to yourself, didn't we just do this last year? Well, it turns out 1 year later, the better half of the colony settled. No, just kidding. Just kidding. So yes, we're here to celebrate Upper Kintore. And I'd just like to start by respectfully acknowledging that the Scotch Colony stands on the unsurrendered and unceded traditional Wolastoqey territory. I would like to remind you that there are two sets of bathrooms inside. There's the accessible bathroom, which is up the stairs, and there's a wheelchair. It's not an electric chair. What is that called? There's a lift, a stair lift, to go up to the accessible washroom, and there are other washrooms downstairs if you're more physically able. Make sure you stop by and see Carolyn at the merchandise table and Gail. They have door prize tickets for everybody. One per person, please. You could win one of the fabulous prizes behind me. And if you have your schedule, on the back of your schedule, there is a trivia sheet, and if you fill that out, you could potentially win a prize. If you're looking for a schedule, I believe some of them are on the table behind me, and then Carolyn also has some. I'd like to introduce historian, world-renowned log home builder, Garth Farquhar, for a brief history of the Scotch Colony. Yes, Darlene.
Everybody sign the guest book, please, before you leave. I'd like to welcome everybody here. A lot of faces and relatives and old friends. It's really nice to see you. And I'd like to also welcome our new friends. Our colony has changed a lot in the last few years. And so welcome to everybody, new and old. As Sarah explained, the reason why we're celebrating two 150th anniversaries. Last year was the 150th anniversary of the Castalia coming. There were about 600 people on that, and they settled in Bonnecord, Kincardine, and Lower Kintore. And then the following year, 1874, the Sidonian came over with about 200 people on it, and they settled in Upper Kintore. Now the geographic limits of Upper Kintore are starting just this where we are right now was a lot that was granted to somebody on the river, but the Coots family were the first lot going up that way, and then Upper Kintore extends up to the top of the Lawson Hill, and some out Trout Brook Road and or the Tower Road as we call it. So the first school in Upper Kintore was right beside the cemetery, and all of the colonists were given log homes to start with. The first year in 1873, they were really behind schedule, and so when the colonists arrived, there were only 2 homes completed, and maybe just a handful started, and 2 of them were underwater from the flooding of the Muniac in the spring. But in 1874, they were a lot better prepared, and things weren't quite as drastic. The first settler in Upper Kintore was Robert Watson, and we have some of his descendants here today, and actually some of them still live here. Ricky lives right there, and Scott there. This was Cecil's home. But anyway, he came over on the Castalia in 1873, and they gave people jobs working on the road. I think partially because they felt so bad, everything was so unprepared. So they gave them all jobs working on the road, and they were building the road up through Upper Kintore. And he came across this nice flat, and there was a little pond on one side of the road, and maybe the pond was on both sides, and he was trying to decide which side to settle, and he chose the west side, and we call that the Watson Flat. And one of his descendants said he was really thankful that he chose that side because the other side was just a mile of ledge. I think he's right. But we still call that the Watson Flat. And you see, everybody knows where the Watson Flat is. You just have to tell them where the big bump in the road was. I say was because they actually fixed it this year. But that bump was there as long as I can remember, but they got it fixed this year. The school was built in 1877. They built a school in Bonaccord, Lower Kintore, and Kincardine. They built 4 schools. And so then they also had another school in what they called Gladstone, which was, if you know where Joe Kinney lives, there was the Gladstone School. And I'm pretty sure they must have called the Gladstone School after the Prime Minister of Great Britain in the late 1800s. And a few of us here actually went to that school, Robert and Charity. And when Charity and I were in grade 2 at Christmas, we moved down to this school, the big school. But that little one-room school, it's burned now, but the foundation's still there. It was basically right on a side hill and in the middle of the woods. And at noon hour, we would just run around through the woods everywhere playing. And at 1 o'clock or whatever, my grandmother, the teacher, she'd ring her bell, and we'd run out of the woods like wild animals to go back to school. Our playground was minuscule, to say the least. We could play ball there, but it was like scrub, just to first base and back. There was no room for a second base or third base. And in the wintertime, we would slide on boards. You had boards, you put paraffin wax on the bottom, and lots of fun. And I think that was the most fun I ever had at school, was that little one-room school. But then we moved down here, and there were bathrooms, a little kitchen, so the teachers would make us a hot lunch sometimes. And there were grade 1s to 6 here, grades 1 and 2 downstairs, 3 and 4 on that side, 5 and 6 on this side. The cemetery in Upper Kintore was established in 1876. The church was built in 1893, and my great-uncle Jim was the first baby baptized there. And tomorrow we're going to have another baptism, christening, our grandson, Arthur. And so that'll be a nice little milestone for us, for our family. Upper Kintore, of course, was all Scottish people at first, but it wasn't long before other folks came. The Coreys and the Haffords, I'm pretty sure, came from Maine or at least New England. And the Pimlets, I think, were English. So it was diverse, and now of course it's really diverse. There's people even from Switzerland here. We had a hall that was built around 1902. I'd have to check the date, but it was very early in the 20th century, and it burned in 1891. But we had a lot of nice functions in it. We remember we'd have dances and wedding anniversaries and that sort of thing. The Christmas concert, yeah. Sarah calls me the local historian, and I got that title because I've lived here about the longest. But it can be pretty satisfying sometimes. This last summer we had a family from Massachusetts come here, and they were descendants of the Mahars. The Mahar family lived, if you know where the Tower Road is, just on the other side of the Tower Road. That was their property. But they left a long, long time ago. Dad doesn't remember them being there, so they left at least 100 years ago. But here their descendants came up here, and we were able to show them where their people had lived and show them the little schoolhouse where they went to school. And then later on this summer, a Patterson descendant from Toronto brought his family. And I was able to take them and show them the old foundation of their ancestors' home, and they really appreciated it. They took pictures of the rocks and everything. So. Anyway, I could talk all day about Upper Kintore, but I'm gonna wrap it up. And so we're here to celebrate the past and to look forward to the future.
All right, so sign the guest book, like Darlene said, which is right over here. There's tea and coffee inside and snacks and lemonade over there, but please go see Steve the Sausage Man. We're so happy to see him again this year. And now I'd like to invite Anna Scheidler to sing "O Canada." So if you could remove your hats, gentlemen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
And Kate Scheidler, I think the only real Scottish person here, right? To sing the unofficial national anthem of Scotland, O Flower of Scotland.
And please join as you can. O flower of Scotland, when will we see your like again? That fought and died for your wee bit hill and glen, and stood against him. Proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. Those days are past now, and in the past they must remain. But we can still rise now, and be the nation again that stood against him. Proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again.
Okay, I'll invite everybody to go into our picnic area and have your picnic. Our kids' tent is opening at 1 o'clock, and so are the picnic games with Marilyn and Cheryl, and those will be over there.